Hi, I'm James Smith. Thank you for joining me. This presentation of Universal Leadership Frameworks, Conquering Conflict, putting a sense-making framework around one of the most ubiquitous, most constant situations in human life. One of the most potential benefits and one of the most stressful thoughts that we have is dealing with conflict. What I'm going to present is a universal leadership framework for people who are leaders, whether you're a leader of a nation, leader of a corporation, multinational or small, whether you're a leader of a family, a team, a small group, or just a leader of yourself, whether you're young, you're older, or you're anywhere in between. This universal leadership framework is universal, and the nice thing about it is it's universal in the sense it's the high ground. It gives you the big picture, all the pieces, exactly how they fit. So whenever you're dealing with conflict, you know where to start, you got the big picture, and you can fit it all in. A little bit about myself. I've been involved in conflict management for a long time. Sometimes we're looking for a resolution, sometimes we're just managing it. Mostly we're managing it, moving it along. So I've worked in an interdisciplinary capacity in counseling. I've worked on a bioethics as a co-chair and founder of a large bioethics committee. I've done arbitration, done mediation. I've studied conflict management policies in Fortune 500 companies, 35 of them for a Ivy League university where I earned a degree in negotiation and in organizational development. I have a PhD in human and organizational systems. I have an MBA, so I understand business, and then my undergraduate degree is an interdisciplinary study with a strong emphasis in law. So it's very well-rounded to be able to bring you this idea of a universal framework for conquering conflict, especially for leaders. So let's get right on to structuring conflict and understanding that conflict is always with us. Whenever there's an improvement, it means the old has been deposed and the new has, through a conflict process of change, emerged as what we're going to use today. The best in class is always the best for now. So this is going to help us understand everything from human growth to change in the global politics to industrial and business expertise and leadership change. All of it is included in conflict. Let me give you the data. I did a little bit about myself. You're going to get the ability to analyze conflict, understand how results manifest. I'm going to give you a clear proposition for this analysis. And the proposition right now is that as power balances in conflict between the parties, the value of what they are after in the conflict increases, both quantitatively and qualitatively, or at least in one of those dimensions. Overall, it becomes much more valuable as the power balances. So I'm going to talk a little bit about power, of course, how to measure that, how to assess it. It's an integral component. We love power. We love physical power. We love emotional power. We love creative power. We love power. It's a good thing. And so it's just a matter of how it's balanced. I'm going to show you some of the distinctions of this high ground. It's something that conflict management people have been seeking for over 20 years, and I've been able to solve that and been published on it, presented at Columbia University on it, the Department of Justice on it, at Fielding Graduate University on it. I've spoken to CEOs of corporations on it as well, and it's been internationally presented in Turkey and some other places, part of other projects I'm with, and I'm going to give you that. I'm going to show you the parts. I'm going to show you how they interact with one another, and I'll show you the entire system. The first thing I'm going to start with that's different, besides this proposition, is that it includes all four games. So a game, they call it a zero-sum game, where one party wins and one party loses. Yes, conflict is a zero-sum game. It includes a win-win situation, where it's a positive-sum game. Yes, conflict is a positive-sum game. It is a sometimes win, sometimes lose, variable sum. Yes, conflict is a variable sum game. It's a everybody lose. Yes, conflict is it's all of those things. Let's go quickly now because I've taken much more time than I wanted to but it was necessary. Structuring conflict is critical. First thing you need is the goal. It has to be a rival goal. Now, the rival goal is not only perceived to be rival, but it is rival. And what that means is it's not a matter of we have an orange and I want the seeds and you want the fruit. It's a matter of we both want the orange. Presidents of the United States, Mitt Romney and Barack Obama, clear examples of a rival goal. Al Gore, George Bush, clear examples of a rival goal. Somebody wanting the gold medal in the Olympics, a rival goal. Somebody wanting to be the CEO of a corporation, rival goal. Somebody wanting to be the market leader in their industry, a rival goal. So what's going on here? Here's the rival goal. It's meant to look a little bit like a bullseye. And then there's 6 lines. These 6 lines are, this green line is the weaker side in the conflict. The red line is the more powerful side in the conflict. And here we have several arrows, but it's really one line that shows the different directions that the value of this goal can go. So about power difference, there's 100% of the power. If somebody has 100% of the power, then there's really not a conflict because there's nobody challenging them. But let's say they have 90% and the other side has 10%. Maybe that's huge differential. It's almost always, not maybe about it, it's always present because one side can physically stop the other side. They can shoot them. They can tie them up. They can throw them off the boat. They can do things to them that are going to physically hurt them. And so they maintain this huge advantage. And they maintain the goal. That's a high power differential. And when that happens, you're going to get a negative sum outcome. When there's a medium power differential, it's about rules. And instead of human rights being violated, rules just aren't fair. They may be legitimate, but they're not fair. They're not fairly enforced. One side might have all the kind of access to information. They have maybe able to reward the other, to reward people very much for supporting them when they need the support, and the other side can't. They may have an authoritative access to information and to decision making and be able to move their cause ahead that way. So they're going to be, in this case, very much stronger, not totally, but very much stronger, and the result is going to be not quite as good. Great example of this is monopolistic businesses where a government will regulate a sector so much that competition can't happen. And what happens is anybody who wants to put legislation in to change that, they're paid off so that they won't put it in. And many in media and information is skewed so that it stays an advantage for one side. And so in those cases, they usually have a very small market share. Take the airline industry. Before it was deregulated, not many people could fly. So it was a small market. When it got deregulated, there was some turmoil. That's what these lines are about. These are turmoil lines, but they're also opportunity lines. They're where Arab Springs happen. They're where American revolutions happen. They're where new businesses are suddenly allowed to come into the marketplace. And so back to the airlines, each of the new airlines got a little smaller slice, but the pie kept growing, and now we have huge industry that we didn't have before. So I'm in telecom and other things like that. Relationships is where the top people in that competitive, fair rules, fairly enforced environment are able to reach the top. Now, not everybody reaches. There's winners, there's losers. And those who lose in one area, sometimes they can go to another area and be very successful. If they're not successful in politics, maybe in business. If they're not successful in business, maybe in education. If not in education, perhaps they can be successful in art or music. And there's no hierarchy meant there. Any of them are beautiful. It's where somebody fits and how they're allowed to compete. And this structure has to be there for all conflicts in any of those domains, in politics, in art, in business, in education, in science. It has to be fair rules, fairly enforced, and often it's not. So that's really quickly the overview on the universal leadership framework for conflict. I thank you for listening. I'd love to come talk with you, do an analysis for you. I certainly have much more empirical and quantitative ways we can measure everything, and we can make a huge difference for you. Thank you very much.